Good morning, everyone. We are the licensing panel. Going to consider your application today. I'm Councillor Eric Firth. I'll be chairing the meeting today. My colleagues are from the left.
Tahir Hanif, Senior Lawyer.
Councillor Paola Davis on the panel today.
Councillor Donna Bellamy.
And on the right,
Laura Murphy, Democracy Officer.
so we have some standing items to go through before we consider yours. So we've done membership of the committee. Item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. Can I sign those as a true record? I think you want to hear what I was. Okay, we can do that. Item 3, declarations of interest. None?
None, Chair.
And I have none. Item 4, admission of the public. Yes, they can come in if they want. But there are none. Item 5, deputations and petitions.
None received, Chair.
And item 6, public questions.
None received, Chair.
So we're going to item 7, application for level 47 to 49 Station Road, Batley, WF17 5SU, to consider this application. Could you actually introduce yourselves, and I will introduce colleagues then over there.
Yes, hello, good morning, and thanks for having us. My name is Nicholas Polycarpou, and I'm one of the 2 partners in the venture that we're trying to do at 47 to 49 Station Road in Batley.
Good morning, thanks for having us. My name's Carl Dunnicky, and I'm also a partner in NK Events.
Thank you, and I'll just introduce the officers.
Steve Mycroft, Licensing Officer for Kirklees Council.
Joanne Cooper, Environmental Health Officer, Kirklees Council.
Right, are you presenting this? Off you go then.
Morning, Chair. On the 4th of August 2025, the Licensing Department received an application for the grant of a new premises licence for level 47 to 49 Station Road, Batley, WF17 5SU. A copy of this application, plan and a location map can be seen at Appendix A. The premises has previously been licensed and was a nightclub from the 3rd of August 2005 to the 30th of January 2013. There had been no issues or concerns reported or recorded in that time according to the records held by the licensing service. The licensable activities on the previous licence were as follows: sale of alcohol Monday to Saturday 11 a.m. till 3:30 a.m. the following day, Sunday 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. the following day, performance of dance Monday to Sunday 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. the following day, late night refreshment Monday to Saturday 11 p.m. to 3:30 a.m. the following day, and Sunday 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. the following day, and recorded music Monday to Sunday 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. the following day. Most recently, the premises has had the benefit of several temporary event notices, 1 application per month from the 16th of December 2023 to the 20th of December 2024. These events took place between 2 p.m. and midnight on each occasion. There have been no issues or concerns reported or recorded in that time. The licensable activities applied for by the applicant are as follows: sale of alcohol on the premises Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. the following day, Sunday 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. the following day, performance of dance Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. the following day, Sunday 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. the following day, films Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. the following day, Sunday 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. the following day, live music Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. the following day, Sunday 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. the following day, late night refreshment Monday to Saturday 11 p.m. to 3:30 a.m. the following day, Sunday 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. the following day. Plays Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. the following day, Sunday 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. the following day, and recorded music Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. the following day, and Sunday 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. the following day. During the consultation period, a representation from Environmental Health has been submitted. The representation was received, considered that the following licensing objectives would not be met should this licence be granted, and that is prevention of public nuisance. A copy of that representation can be seen at Appendix B. Members need to consider the statutory guidance issued by the Secretary of State under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003. As the representation relates to one of the licensing objectives, members' attention is drawn to that guidance. The relevant parts may be found at Appendix C. Consultation has taken place in accordance with the requirements set out in the Licensing Act 2003. As I said, one representation has been received from a responsible authority as detailed above. When determining the application, members having regard to the representation may take such steps as they consider appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. These are grant the premises licence application, grant the premises licence application with appropriate conditions, exclude from the scope of the licence any of the licensable activities which relate to this application, or reject the grant of the premises licence application. Members are therefore requested to determine the application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions to the licensing officer? I would like to ask why this constitutes public nuisance. Sure.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, panel. So our objection is based on the presence of now 4 residential flats, which were built between the previous nightclub use of the premises and now the new application. So adjoining to the applicant's premises, there is an existing pub, and above that pub is 4 residential flats that weren't there previously. So we do acknowledge that we haven't had complaints in the past about this premises. However, given that the flats have now come into occupation and there's an application for a nightclub, that's where our concerns lie. So it is a busy area of Batley, high levels of foot traffic. The pre-existing pub is underneath the residential flats as it is. Successful business closes between 10 p.m. at midnight, and we have no complaints about this premises as it is. But there's a clear distinct difference between a pub bar environment and a nightclub in terms of volume of music, the presence of bass, hours of opening. So there are, if the panel does determine that this application should be successful, there are, of course, conditions that we would recommend to help control the noise, including notices to be displayed, the use of a sound limiter, all of these things which the applicant has put in their noise management plan. But we would also put on our inaudibility conditions, so that is any noise from amplified and non-amplified music and sound, including bass, would be inaudible in the attached premises in these residential flats. And that's where we think one of our issues lies, that we don't believe that they would be able to achieve that. So we'd recommend all conditions available to us in terms of controlling the noise to prevent public nuisance, but there'd still be concerns over noise and vibrations travelling through the fabric of the building and noise from customers accessing the premises at unsocial hours up to 4 a.m. Concerns over potentially intoxicated customers on the street and the public areas in the early hours of the morning, which have left the premises and are no longer under control of the premises management. They have no responsibility to manage the behaviour of those people once they've left the premises, but we can't ignore that the premises being there would lead to an increase of potentially noisy and disruptive people on the street at that hour. So it's also, we need to look at the frequency of the occurrence. This could be, potentially 7 days a week, operating until between 2:30 and 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Due to the nature of nightlife, we, anticipate it to be busier on weekends as well. But there is the potential for it to be busy during the week as well. And of course, if the business is running, we would want it to flourish. And if so, it could increase the amount of noise that we're experiencing throughout the week. So the residents could be affected up to the early hours every day of the week. The applicant has highlighted improved sound insulation, so this would need to follow an investigation by an acoustic engineer following sound testing between the premises and the neighbouring properties to determine what noise attenuation needs to be installed. We would welcome this testing. We would support the applicants in doing so, but this would need to be carried out and tested prior to us offering support of the application to demonstrate that controlling the noise this way would work. The use of a sound limiter, they've recommended this as well. we'd recommend that. We have a condition that we could use to apply that onto the licence, and we would assist them in putting that on if the licence was granted. The applicant mentioned isolating the subwoofers to control the bass, but the concerns are that the noise and vibrations from bass and the music will still travel through the air, will still travel into the structure and therefore into the adjoining flats. The applicant has recommended that the upstairs adjoining room to the residential flats would not be used after 2 a.m, but that does still mean that it will be used until 2 a.m, potentially every day, which obviously will cause a significant disturbance. A lot of our concerns are around crowd management and customers accessing and leaving the premises. So again, they have recommended directing queues away from the residential access, signage and barriers to direct customers away, monitoring throughout the night to prevent disruption, and training staff in sort of appropriate dispersal of customers. But in my experience of dealing with commercial premises, particularly those up to sort of 4 a.m. in the morning, it's very difficult to manage people leaving a premises when there are residential windows sort of right above where these people will be congregating on the street. And as I mentioned before, once they have left the premises, they're not the responsibility of the club. They're not the responsibility of staff members who are working till the early hours to sort of keep them quiet. And it will be very difficult to manage the noise coming from people leaving at that sort of hour. So while we appreciate that the applicant wants the business to be successful and we support their efforts to revitalise this part of Batley nightlife, it does seem clear to me as an environmental health officer who investigates noise complaints from commercial venues that a nightclub next to an adjoining residential flats will cause significant noise concerns.
Any questions? Can I ask?
Yep.
Are you aware of any consultation that's been taken with the next door with the residents?
No, we've not had anything through to us. The applicants may. There you go.
We consulted. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I don't have any details of that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. I would, first of all, I want to say we completely value Joanne's points. I think it's the points Joanne raised actually enhanced our policies and our ideas, and now we can manage the kind of issues what Joanne has. We have consulted with the residents, and we also run a sound test. And just to follow on Joanne's point in regards to the upstairs section, so the building's split into two. It has a subfloor, which is a full building's length away from the flats. And the idea was not to finish at 2 o'clock, to finish at 11:30, 12 o'clock. And then if there was a club night, then it'd be actually in the downstairs area. So the downstairs section actually is capped at nearly half the number. So again, we felt that reducing the number would reduce the risk. So for example, the full cap of the venue, it's only 350 for the full actual venue. Upstairs being 225, downstairs around 150. But we felt that actually closing upstairs early, and just to follow on Joanne's point as well, I think that we'd have no intention of running, even though the licence we applied for was daily, the reality is it's not going to be, the club nights would be on a weekend. So you know, very rarely would we go past 11:30 through the week. We see the events through the week being more akin to jazz, bands, comedy, using it more as a community event space, pretty much similar to what this venue has really. The club nights would just be on a weekend, it'd be ticketed events, and it would be in the lower cap venue downstairs and finishing early. So we wouldn't be running upstairs until 2 o'clock. So we did run a sound test with no noise leakage. We run the sound test to 96 dB. no doors and windows are actually open on the premises anyway, and also there's no leak from the door as there's an internal gap in the premises. We did invite environmental health to come down so we could actually show them the building space that was declined, so we felt we couldn't really get across how we wanted to manage the space, and also the outside noise was running at 86 dB, and that was on a weekend, so it's a busy area. The footfall in the area is huge. It's also an industrial area as well as having the train station, and the companies who run the industrial sites, I think there's a wool factory, other bars, obviously the cellar bar next door. So it was 86 dB. It was 10 dB lower than what the noise was inside. I think I totally understand Joanne deals with these complaints all the time. I think both myself and Nick, we work in the industry. We run nights in Leeds, and I also own a studio in Bradford, so I have some experience in soundproofing. I totally take on board about what Joanne says about the soundproofing aspect. One of the reasons we contacted a sound insulation company and we spoke about what measures they would give us. We felt we already had the right measures in place, meeting current legislation for policies adhering to a club or event space. We felt we more than covered that really. I think to actually soundproof a building as well, it's massively difficult, especially in an old building. It's not achievable, but what you can do is you can minimise that. I felt, and Nick felt, the best way to reduce that is to close upstairs early, and then it's not attached. So it'd have to travel. It can't travel basically because it's in a separate building. That's us taking away our potential earning, but obviously we wanted to accommodate really and compromise on it. So we're saying we'd close the upstairs in sociable hours and cut the cost and potential earnings to kind of meet that really. In regards to noise dispersion on the outside, I think actually, again, we're half in the number of people we need to manage. Again, following on from what Joanne said, we've actually developed a better dispersion policy to work with our staff. I wanted to kind of cover this really. I think there's a real big practical element what you can implement. And with the best will in the world, I appreciate people can get drunk and they can, there's a reality to this where people are going to be on the street. But we're involved in some clubs in London, and what they've done is they've created a community. It's not just a nightclub we're wanting to do. The main hall and one of the main attractions, the building's beautiful. We love the Gothic element of it. We love the conservation side. But we wanted to have a community space. So I know the NHS in the past have rented the space. We want to do craft fairs there. We want to create a community vibe, especially in the hall upstairs. So I think the clubs in London have created a community aspect. And what people do is then they take ownership. So for example, when people are queuing there, they understand that it's to keep something special going, they need to buy into the idea of, they need to respect the area. I think if that's one of our biggest aims. We don't just want to put club nights on and party there. It's not about that at all. We could get that in Leeds, but the building's a special building. I think creating a community aspect of it and trying to get that across to punters is a big thing. And then also having signs. There's a dispersion policy, what I won't go into, but it's a comprehensive policy, what does aim towards people buying into that idea where they respect the space and surroundings. So I think there's a social aspect as well as a practical aspect of implementing this to try and minimise any concerns. The other thing is we have consulted with residents and at no point has there been any objection, and also there was no objection during the past TENS events. Actually, we've had good feedback and people wanting something in the area. I think obviously Batley has been massively famous over the years for nightlife. It's tailed off. We'd like to support that, bringing some element back to the nightlife of Batley. I think, if you don't mind, there's a couple of points I just wanted to kind of, we had a chap actually helping us with his application. He couldn't make it today, but he gave us some points to kind of make sure we bring up. So yeah, obviously we only received one objection to the application. Everyone else has been quite supportive. We had a local councillor kind of contact us as well. He had asked some questions around the train station. We want to cater for that. That's why we put 9 a.m. Application in, not to serve alcohol, but we want to do coffee in the morning in a part of the space as well. So that's we kind of quelled some ideas around how the train station and the busyness of it could be a hindrance, but we wanted to work with a local councillor. So he's been supportive of that action now. We've done noise tests, discussed with local residents. And also as well, we see it as an evolving policy that obviously we're not in the property as yet, but we see it adapting, and we would try and make allowances going forward and practical ways to achieve any imposed licensing arrangements on us. But yeah, I think I've talked enough actually. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there's a lot there. Sorry. Yeah, I think I've covered most things. Thank you.
To it about your closing earlier midweek. But you mentioned, what is it, 816D? Can you explain that, the noise?
Oh, right, so I think... Sorry, so in all club venues where we are, there's decibel meters which indicates the loudness of the noise. So what we wanted to do is implement meters to keep regular monitor the noise, so it never goes above a certain level. So what we did is we put our sound system into the property. We tested the noise up to 96 dB, which is around about the limit of what you can legally play in a club before it becomes impactful on the hearing. So we run the system until to 96 decibels, and then we tested the noise outside. There were no noise leak, and the outside background noise was 86 dB. So it's a loud area outside anyway, and we did that on a weekend, and we consulted with residents. There was no complaints. There were no indication what they could hear, anything. They were supportive. There's 4 residents. One doesn't live in the country. I think he just owns a property, but the other guys who we had feedback, there were no issue with that. So one of the measures we'd like to put in place is, as most clubs do, is we keep regular checks on the decibel to make sure it's not going over a certain point. I think one thing what I would like to say is as well, I think having a limiter on sound can hinder the quality. And we're not opposed to having it on, but one thing I want to stress is, and I think it comes under the Licensing Act guidance, and I think it's 2.23, where it says for authorities, and I don't want to tell you how to do a job, it's just an extract in there, but what it says is not to implement limiters, because it can hinder the sound. So one thing what I want to stress is that me and Nick are both record producers, we own labels, and on a limiter it reduces frequency, and I totally get the bass, but it also it's not about loudness, it's about quality, and having a limiter can reduce the quality. And I think the extract states that if it reduces the quality and experience for clients, it can hinder that. So one thing what we're totally aware of in the club scene is that there's terrible venues with terrible sound, and they have to turn it up loud to make it perceive as being better. It's not, and that's wrong. I think one thing we want to pride ourselves on is quality. So we're not opposed to having a limiter if it enables us to get the license, but what I would stress is that it reduces the quality, and we're very much about quality rather than loudness. Thank you.
I keep forgetting about my microphone, you have to forgive me. Questions from the objector, which is yourself, Joanne?
Nothing from me, Chair.
Yeah, I just did want to look at a couple of things. So that noise testing that was done, were any measurements taken? I understand that 86 dB is outside the premises. Were any measurements taken from inside the neighbouring properties? No. Okay.
Just to follow on from that, so we invited the residents to actually consult on that beforehand, but again, they didn't want us to enter the property.
Okay, and then what time was that test carried out?
We did two. So it was both in the same day because we had restrictions on travelling with the equipment. So we did it one at 2 o'clock and it was on a Saturday, and then one at, I think it was about 7:30 in the evening, just because we had restrictions on the getting the equipment back and forth. But I appreciate it wasn't through the night.
Yeah, that's just one of the concerns I've got about that is I appreciate the test being undertaken, and 86 dB for that sort of time of day outside in the street makes sense to me. It's a busy area, there's vehicles passing, there's a lot of people in the area, there's a lot of background noise. I would expect that level of noise. But then of course at, potentially 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that noise level is going to be much reduced. And as well, one of our significant concerns is, and I know that you have addressed this and you are looking at this, is because it's an old building, we're dealing with a lot of solid stone structures that carries noise and vibrations very, very well. So I appreciate you're talking about sound insulation. Great, big fan of that. But we need to establish what is in existence at the moment before we can look at ways of attenuating it. So that's just where my concerns arise from the noise testing being carried out. We would really want that to be done inside the neighbouring properties, obviously with the consent of the neighbours. So yeah, and again about dispersion of people and getting them out the area. I appreciate it's a very, very difficult thing to manage. I would say it's probably going to be the biggest challenge, and I can see that you've put in a lot of steps and a lot of work to want to do that. I will just always have some doubts that is going to be effective, because we don't know what people are like after they could potentially be intoxicated. They've come from a very noisy environment into a quiet environment. It takes some time for people's hearing to adjust, for their behaviour to change from being inside where they're shouting at each other and having a really good time to them being outside on a quiet street. So, and I don't necessarily think that's something that's within your control, but it is a concern that we have because of my experience with dealing with other premises. So yeah, that is what my concerns would largely be, is gaps in the noise testing and still people sort of accessing throughout different times.
Yes, I think our points have been heard and we've had a fair trial. I think, in summary, we're both respected individuals in our own industries as well outside of this. I'm an aircraft engineer for Jet2. Carl's a successful businessman. So we're not looking at this at an amateuristic level. We take on board the environmental health officer's points, and like we said, we want to bring value to this community, and we are confident that we can work with everyone to achieve all these points. However, we do want to run a business. They have to be practical and achievable within an economic scale as well. So I think we put across the points of what we want to do here, and in summary, we want to start a venue that will be a community centre first and foremost, give something to the community. It will support the area in terms of things they just don't have now. When we've looked, and we feel that our policies are adequate enough at this point, and as we have pledged the commitment to carry on to work with all the formal agencies to ensure that everyone's happy as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So for my summary, the premises has been licensed before for 8 years with no complaints or concerns recorded by licensing service, and they have run 11 temporary event notices in a year's period between December 23 and December 24. And they were between 2 p.m. and midnight, and there were no issues or concerns at that time. And it is in an industrial area, and there is a couple of bars within that area. Again, we've had no concerns or complaints from those either.
We appreciate that. We want this to be a successful venture with the applicants. Our objection is based on experience of other venues, and I appreciate that this is its own case, and they've put forward some good arguments to try and control the noise. As the application stands, with the hours of use that they have requested, we cannot support it as it is, just because we don't have enough evidence, and I think the hours of use are too late.
Thank you. What's it called, Mike? Thank you for your attendance today. Now, we will consider the application and, of course, the objections. Could I ask you to withdraw while we do so, please? Thank you for your patience. The panel has considered the application. Sky News, sorry. Do apologise. At today's hearing, the panel considered both verbally and in writing information which outlined an application for a grant of a premises licence level 47 to 49 Station Road, Batley, WF 17 5SU. In reaching its decision, the panel has due regard to the provisions of the Licensing Act 2003, the statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Act, the Council's statement of licensing policy, and the relevant provisions of the Human Rights Act. The panel also considered the representations received which stated that the licence objectives in respect of the prevention of public nuisance would not be achieved if the licence was granted. Therefore, in respect of the aforementioned application, the panel has decided that the application be granted as applied for, subject to this couple of lines. The panel acknowledge the concerns raised by environmental health, and should any noise complaints be raised, this could result in a full review of your licence. That ends today's proceedings. Thank you for your attendance. Good luck with your business, and let's hope that it makes that part of Batley thrive. End of meeting. Thank you. and welcome. We're on. Yes, good morning and welcome. We're here today to consider an application for a full variation of premises licence for the office, Fold Hill Mills, Huddersfield Road, Murfield, WF14 8BE. First of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Councillor Eric Firth. I'll be chairing today's meeting. My colleagues on my left are
Tahir Hanif, Legal Advisor to the panel.
Councillor Paula Davis on the panel today.
Councillor Donna Bellamy.
Laura Murphy, Democracy Officer.
and colleagues.
Craig Hayward, Licensing Officer.
Mike Skelton, Senior Licensing Officer.
Thank you. Where are we now? Can we outline the application, please? Officers?
Chair, thank you. On the 6th of August 2025, the Licensing Department received an application for the full variation of a premises licence for a premise known as the Office, who were located at Fold Head Mills, Huddersfield Road, Murfield. A full copy of this application can be seen at Appendix A. The Office has benefited from a premises licence since the 16th of November 2016. The current licence authorises the following licensable activities: the sale of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises, as well as the performance of live and recorded music indoors on a Monday to Wednesday from 8 a.m. until 11 p.m, on a Thursday from 8 a.m. until midnight, on a Friday and Saturday from 8 a.m. until 1 a.m, and on a Sunday from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. There is also the provision of late night refreshment, which is on a Thursday from 11 p.m. until midnight, and on a Friday and Saturday from 11 p.m. up until 1 a.m. the following morning. The full variation application is to increase the sale of alcohol, live and recorded music and late night refreshment timings on a Friday and Saturday to 2 a.m. All the other timings are to remain the same. So for clarification, that's Friday night into Saturday morning, Saturday night into Sunday morning. The application was also to include some seasonal variations, however these have subsequently been withdrawn by the applicant. A copy of the current premises licence with its timings and any conditions can be seen at Appendix B in your bundle. During the consultation period, representation has been received from the local ward councillors. The representation state that the following licensing objectives would not be met should this variation be granted, those being the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety and the prevention of public nuisance. A copy of those representations may be seen at Appendix C. As part of the consultation period, representation has not been received from any of the other responsible authorities, and I can confirm that the application has been advertised in accordance with the requirements set out in the Licensing Act of 2003. When determining the application, members having had regard to the representation may take such steps as they consider appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, those steps being to grant the application with any appropriate conditions, to exclude from the scope of the licence any of the licensing activities which relate to the application, or to reject the application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions to the licensing officer? Please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Where were the notices advertised? Out of interest.
On the premise itself. And there was one in the paper, yeah. Yeah, they're the two requirements when I say it was advertised in accordance with the Act, yeah.
I will ask a question, and to the best of your knowledge, is this a well-run establishment, and have we had any complaints in the past regarding this?
To my knowledge, Chair, it is. I have looked, we have one complaint on file from 2021, but there's certainly nothing recent at all.
Can I now invite you to make the application, please?
I'm John Johnson and I'm the Compliance Director for the company. Now, since we took over these premises in 2020, COVID sadly struck at the time, which meant we went into full operation, I think, would I be right in saying the mid of
2020 after COVID.
Yeah. So after the COVID period, we got into full swing, and like our friend just said, we've operated a very tight establishment there. We've operated until 2 a.m. On over 60 temporary event notices, which would be over 100 days. And to my knowledge and belief to this day, we have had no problems with operation, either in-house, from environmental health, the police, or police licensing. So it's Mr. Ellsworth, who, although he's the director of the company, actually operates there on a day-to-day basis, has always adhered to the licensing objectives, and I think the record is very clear. On the basis that he only knows how to operate one way. He's worked with me for the past 15 years, and keeping policies strong and adhered to has always been at the forefront of that business's operation. I think that's as much as maybe I need to say at this moment in time.
Thank you, colleagues. I just want to follow that up about the 200 extension. You've run actually till 2 o'clock in the morning over the last 5 years. 6 years?
Yeah, so
thank you. Can I invite licensing officer to ask if there's any objection?
I have no questions, thank you, Chair.
No questions? So the representations have been made, by the way, by Councillor Bolt, Councillor, Councillor Itratali, and Councillor Vivian Lees Hamilton. Just for the record, they're the 3 local councillors. Where are we going there? There are some in writing. Residents living nearby have reported issues of antisocial behaviour, and we have asked that the source of this be ascertained. I am not sure that this has been resolved yet. The location is near a number of residents, and I would question the suitability for late night hours on grounds of the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance. Regards, that's from Councillor Bolt. Dear all, I would add that the increase in noise disturbance, considering the proximity of some residents, I guess that falls under public nuisance. That's from Councillor Itratali. And this one is from Councillor Lees Hamilton. We have had complaints from a resident of St Paul's Road, which is quite close to the premises. The complainant complains of late night noise from patrons of the office. We did contact licensing at the time, as it appeared that the office was opening beyond their approved hours. Regards, Vivian. And is that the one, can I ask, is that the one complaint that you received in the...
I'm going to make an assumption that yes, because the representation doesn't actually say when it happened.
When did this one?
2021, November 21.
Nearly 4 years ago.
Correct.
Thank you. Say anything about the objections that we've received?
the crime and disorder in the area speaks for itself, that we've had no police activity at the office and nothing from Kirklees licensing to suggest that any of that takes place. We are mindful that next door to us there's a residential block of flats. To the right of us there is a Kirkwood hospice and a Oxfam next to us. And at the end of every session when we close, there's a WhatsApp group that they have, that they operate. They sweep the car park with the camera to ensure that there's no debris left there. Not that there rarely ever is, but just in case. And that all patrons are off-site and onto the main road. And we have got SIA registered doormen who work on both Friday and Saturday evenings. Those are the only 2 nights there's any business there. So although, yes, we are licensed 7 days a week, we actually only open 2 of those nights. So there is no public nuisance there. We've certainly never had anything back from licensing in that time to suggest anything. But us being sort of on the front line, so to speak, we don't know of any. Such as next door in the Kirkwood Hospice shop, it's got a window that's 3 metres by 2 metres without roller shutters on it. They'd be through every night if it was that kind of place. There's absolutely, like I said, there's nothing we knowingly know of to suggest that such things like that take place within our establishment.
Thank you for your answer. The next stage of this hearing is that objectors have the opportunity to sum up.
The objectors aren't here.
The applicants have the opportunity to sum up, and I think you've done that really already.
Okay.
To state a case and that you feel it's been fully considered. Yeah. So, can I ask you to retire, please, while the panel consider what's next? fires, as we know. And that's why, hence the thumbs up. So we are live now. I'll just read the statement out. We have considered fully the application. At today's hearing, the panel considered both verbally and in writing information which outlined an application for the full variation of a premises licence at the office, Folderhead Mills, Huddersfield Road, Murfield, WF14 8BE. In reaching its decision, the panel has due regard to the provisions of the Licensing Act 2003, the statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Act, the Council's Statement of Licence Policy, and the relevant provisions of the Human Rights Act. The panel also considered representation received from local art councillors, which stated that the licensing objectives in respect of the prevention of public nuisance, public safety, and the prevention of crime and disorder would not be achieved if the licence was granted. We have considered their objections, but then again, therefore, in respect of the aforementioned application, the panel had decided that the application be granted as applied for. I want to place this on record. The panel acknowledges that over 60 temporary events amounting to approximately 100 days previously operated without any issues until 2 p.m. So thank you for your attendance. As I said, the licence is granted. Good luck, and meeting closed.